From the outside, it probably looks calm, controlled, productive. I show up, I build, I solve problems, I move things forward. That's the version people interact with, the one that functions. But that's not the full picture. What you don't see is that the calm is engineered. It's deliberate, because underneath it, there's a constant internal storm running in parallel. It's a mix of pressure, responsibility, second-guessing, and the awareness that failure isn't abstract. It has consequences for real people. It doesn't switch off when the lights go out. At night, when everything gets quiet, that's when it gets louder. Ideas collide with doubts. Decisions replay themselves. Futures branch into thousands of possibilities, and your brain insists on exploring all of them at once. This isn't drama. It's not sadness in the traditional sense. It's intensity. It's carrying the weight of things you care about deeply and knowing that caring comes with cost. I don't talk about it much because it's hard to translate. And because once you've learned how to function inside a storm, you stop expecting the weather to change, you just learn how to walk through it. The tricky part is that invisibility creates misunderstanding. People assume calm means ease. That silence means peace. That strength means absence of struggle. It doesn't. It just means the struggle has been internalized, optimized, made quiet enough to coexist with productivity. So when I say there's a storm, I don't mean chaos, I mean constant motion. A mind that doesn't rest easily. A nervous system that's always on call. That's the baseline. That's the environment. If you want to love me, you need to understand this. The calm you see is not the absence of a storm, it's me standing inside it. When things get quiet, it's easy to assume that means everything is fine. That silence is comfort. That no news is good news. But for me, silence has never been the absence of struggle, it's been the way I manage it. Talking about the storm doesn't calm it, it amplifies it. Every explanation pulls more threads, opens more loops. Drains energy I need just to stay functional. So I learned early how to carry things internally, how to compress chaos into something manageable. I don't unload because I don't want to overwhelm anyone else. And I don't ask for reassurance because I'm not looking to be talked out of reality. The problems are real. The stakes are real. Words don't make them lighter. That can look like distance. It can look like indifference. It can look like I'm shutting people out. But what's actually happening is triage. I'm conserving bandwidth. I'm choosing survival over expression because there are moments when doing both just isn't possible. The paradox is that the quieter I get, the heavier things usually are. When the load is light, I can joke, debate, explain. When it's heavy, I go still. Not because I don't care, but because I care too much to let the noise take over. I don't need someone to decode the silence or fill it with answers. I need it to be respected for what it is. A coping mechanism, not a verdict. An internal recalibration, not emotional withdrawal. If you're trying to love me, understand this, my silence isn't a wall, it's how I keep standing. There's a natural instinct when you see someone under pressure to want to fix it, to jump in with solutions, reframes, optimism. I get that. I live in a world where problems exist to be solved. But this isn't one of those problems. The storm isn't a bug in the system. It's part of the architecture. I'm not looking for rescue. I don't need to be convinced that things will be okay, or that I should relax, or that it's all going to work out somehow. If it were that simple, it would have been solved a long time ago. What I need isn't relief, it's presence. Presence looks quiet. It looks like staying without trying to optimize the moment. It looks like not taking the weight personally or trying to carry it for me. Because when someone tries to fix me, what I hear, even if they don't mean it, is that the way I am is a problem. And that adds friction where there's already enough. The storm is something I've learned to navigate. I know its patterns. I know when to push and when to wait it out. What I don't know how to do is pretend it doesn't exist just to make things more comfortable for someone else. Love for me isn't about erasing the struggle. It's about not being alone inside it. Sometimes that means sitting in uncertainty together. Sometimes it means letting a bad night be a bad night without turning it into a project. That's harder than it sounds, especially for people to care. But there's a difference between support and control. Support says, I'm here. Control says, let me make this stop. Only one of those actually helps. So if you want to love me, don't try to save me from the storm, stand with me until it passes. There are moments when I pull back, I answer slower, I disappear into work. I go quiet in ways that feel abrupt if you don't know what's happening underneath. And I need to say this clearly, that distance isn't rejection. It's not a loss of interest or care. It's a response to intensity reaching a threshold. When the storm gets loud, my instinct isn't to reach outward, it's to stabilize inward. I narrow the field. I reduce variables. I focus on what I can control, because control is how I regain balance. That can look cold from the outside. It can feel like I'm choosing isolation over connection. But it's actually about preventing damage, both to myself and to the people around me. If I stayed fully exposed during those moments, I'd say things too sharply. I'd react instead of think. I'd let pressure leak sideways. Pulling away is how I keep the storm contained. It's how I make sure I come back grounded instead of fragmented. The problem is that withdrawal is easy to misinterpret. Humans are wired to personalize distance. Silence becomes a story. Space becomes a threat. But what's happening has nothing to do with you. It's the internal system running emergency protocols, not an emotional verdict. What I need in those moments isn't pursuit or pressure. It's trust. Trust that the connection isn't fragile. Trust that I'll return when the winds die down, because I always do. And when I come back clearer, more present, more capable of actually connecting instead of just enduring. So understand this: when I step back, it's not because I'm leaving, it's because I'm making sure I can stay. Here's the part that's hardest to explain because it sounds contradictory until you live it. I can be deeply committed and completely exhausted at the same time. I can care intensely and still need space. I can believe in something and someone and still feel overwhelmed by the weight of everything else I'm carrying. Those things aren't opposites, they coexist. I don't operate in clean emotional states. It's not joy or stress, strength or vulnerability, it's layers. Confidence sitting next to doubt, drive sitting next to fatigue. Certainty about direction paired with uncertainty about timing. If you're looking for consistency in how it looks from the outside, you'll be confused. The consistency is internal, it's about forward motion, not emotional symmetry. That's why simple labels don't work. Strong doesn't mean unbreakable. Quiet doesn't mean disengaged. Focus doesn't mean emotionally absent. When I'm under pressure, I don't become less caring, I become more selective with where my energy goes. And sometimes it means I don't show up the way people expect, even though the intention hasn't changed. Loving someone like this requires tolerance for complexity. Not everything will resolve neatly. Some nights will be restless. Some days I'll be fully present, and others I'll be split between worlds. That's not instability, that's the cost of operating at the edge of what you care about. I'm asking for understanding in theory. I'm asking for acceptance in practice. Acceptance that I won't always be easy, predictable, or light, but I will be honest, committed, and real. Because the truth is simple, I don't need to be simplified to be loved. If you're going to stay, really stay, it has to be with the full version of me, not just the parts that are easy to love. Not just the clarity, the drive, the moments when everything feels aligned and optimistic. Those are real, but they're not the whole picture. The nights matter too. The restless ones, the ones where sleep doesn't come easily and the mind refuses to power down. Love, at least the kind that lasts, isn't built in perfect conditions. It's built in endurance. In choosing presence when things are quiet, heavy, or unresolved, I'm not asking for endless patience or unconditional agreement. I'm asking for steadiness. For someone who doesn't flinch when the weather changes. Because the storm doesn't ask permission. It arrives whether the day went well or not. And on those nights, what matters most isn't reassurance or solutions. It's knowing I don't have to perform calm for someone else's comfort. That I don't have to explain myself into something simpler than I am. Staying means understanding that love isn't proven in moments of ease. It's proven in consistency, in not turning distance into drama, in not demanding sunshine to justify commitment. Real connection isn't fragile, it stretches. I don't expect anyone to carry the storm for me. That's mine to live with. But standing nearby changes everything. It makes the nights shorter, the weight lighter, not because the storm disappears, but because it's witnessed. And that's the truth underneath all of this. If you stay with all of me, because love that survives the storm is the only kind that's real.